This meeting is being recorded. By continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to be recorded. Alert. M. Lisa Lockley has joined the meeting. Alert. Elizabeth has left the meeting. Alert. Galaxy Tab S6 has joined the meeting. Escape. Alert. Elizabeth has joined the meeting. Alert. Your internet connection is unstable. Search box edit. Dictate text. This meeting is being recorded. By continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to be recorded. F4. Alert. Arunabul has joined the meeting. Continue button. To activate say press the leave meeting button. To continue button. To activate say press the button. Enter. Zoom meeting. Galaxy J3 Prime has joined the meeting. Alert. Diane Smith has joined the meeting. Alert. Sarah Stadnicki has joined the meeting.
Yeah, of course. I don't mind. I'll try my best. Because I know it's a lot of I know they're important. I want to make sure everything is. Patrick, okay.
Alert. Shanti has joined the meeting. Alt F4. End meeting or leave meeting. Escape. Zoom meeting. Escape. Zoom meeting. Gallery view left, paren Alt plus F2 right, paren button. To activate safe, enter full screen left, paren Alt plus F. Meeting information button. You are using enhanced alert. Kathy has joined the meeting. Alert. Kathy has left the meeting. Mute. Currently unmuted. Alt plus A button. To activate safe, press the button. Audio settings button menu. Stop my video. Alt plus B button. To activate safe, press the button. Audio settings button menu. Stop my video. Alt plus B button. To activate safe, press the button. Video settings. Button closed. Open participants panel. 40 button menu. Open chat panel. Alt plus H. Share screen. Alt record on this computer left, paren Alt plus R right, paren button. To activate say press the button. Closed caption button. To activate say reactions button. To activate say press the button. Lead. Alt plus Q button. To activate say press the button. Gallery view left, paren Alt plus F2 right, paren button. To activate say press the button. Enter full screen left, paren Alt plus F right, paren button. To activate say press the button. Gallery view left, paren Alt plus F2 right, paren button. To activate say lead. Alt plus Q to act reactions button. To act close caption button. To activate say press the button. Record on this computer to act share screen. Alt red alert. Close caption button. To activate say press the button. Close caption button. To activate say press the button. Reactions button. To activate say press the button. Lead. Alt plus Q button. To gallery view left, paren Alt plus F2 right, paren button. To activate say press the button. Enter full screen meeting information button. You are using enhanced and mute. Currently audio settings button menu. Stop my video. Video settings button menu. Closed. Open participants panel. 42 participants. Alt plus U button. To activate say press the button. Enter and alert. Expanded. Input search keyword find a participant edit. Participant list. Use arrow key to navigate, and press tab for more options list box. Essay Mora, left paren me right, Andrea left key, left paren host, Miss Marcelette, left paren code dash, Christina, computer audio muted, video off. Angela Ardizzone, computer audio muted, video on. Christina, computer audio muted, video off. Angela Ardizzone, computer audio muted, video on. Christina, Miss Marcia, Andrea Lefty, left, Essay Mora, left, paren me right, paren, computer audio unmuted, video on. Andrea Lefty, left, paren host right, paren, computer audio muted, video on, recording locally. Miss Marcelette, left, paren code dash host right, paren, computer audio unmuted, video on. Christina, computer audio muted, video off. Angela Ardizzone, computer audio muted, video on. CDI, computer audio muted, video off. Deaf Mama, computer audio muted, video on. Diane Smith, computer audio muted, video on. Divine Goal, computer audio muted, video on. Eileen Eric, Computer audio muted. Video on. Karaoke sector. Computer audio muted. Video on. Gatry left paren Canada right paren left paren she slash the right paren. Computer audio muted. Video on. Galaxy J3 Prime. Computer audio muted. Video off. Harris hand. Computer alert. User Benny has joined the meeting. iPad. Computer audio muted. Video on. Jeremy Best. Computer audio muted. Video on. John Cunniff. Computer audio muted. Video off. Karen. Computer audio muted. Video off. Henley Payne. Computer audio muted. Video off. Leo left paren she slash the right paren. Computer audio muted. Video on. M. Lisa Lockley. Computer audio muted. Video off. Mari. Computer audio muted. Video on. Melissa. Computer audio muted. Video off. Melissa Lund. Computer audio muted. Video off. Natasha Backus. Computer audio muted. Video on. Perlis J. Computer audio muted. Video on. Closed captioner.
Call from mom. It's mom.
Enter. Mute. Currently unmuted. Alt plus A button. To activate, say press the button. Enter. Mute. Currently unmuted. Alt plus A button. To activate, say press the button. Alert. Audio now unmuted.
Hello, interpreter.
Hi, I'm one of the interpreters, so I'm just not sure what the plan is.
I cannot see sign language, so I need like a voiceover.
Sure, I'm just trying to reach out to the other interpreter.
Right here.
Oh, okay, Tim's there. Perfect. Tim, do you want to start just so I can get a handle on it?
Sure.
Thanks.
So make sure everyone can stay muted for this next part so that people can hear the voicing that's happening. Marcelette's saying now we're going to turn it over to Eileen. She's been very patient. So now we're going to see what Eileen has to say. She does have a question for Divya, plus the general question for the deafblind community as well. And once again, do you mind if you're signing, please to be close to the camera so the members of the deafblind community will be able to see you a little bit more clearly. Hello, everyone. My name is Eileen, and this is my name sign. I live in Canada. I'm from Canada. My question for Divya is, throughout your experiences of giving presentations, you've kind of talked about, hope, and you've shared that vision. But one phrase that you do say that's very interesting is related to I was just curious if you had anything specific, more related to deaf, if it's just specific deafblind, or or if it's just a general thing that can be a federal thing that can be a federal thing that can help out this community, work with the community, or is this just something that's on a state or local level? Marcelette is saying, thank you, Eileen, from Canada. Now back over to Divya to respond to your question.
Alert. Press ESC. Alt alert. Press ESC or double dash click.
Hello, this is Divya. First, I'd like to answer Mari's question and then Eileen's question.
John Cuniff has left the meeting.
Mari, you made a comment about my involvement with the deafblind community, specifically related to Black Lives Matter. I would guess I can say that my hope would be that there would be more numbers, an increase in volume of deafblind people who can be representative of their communities and their activities in the movement. It's the same at Gallaudet University, how everyone was involved and got involved down there too. We kind of want to see that same motivation from the deafblind community in these movements. And the only way to really get that is to make sure that there's exposure to the deafblind community, and that's also a benefit.
And how it can become more of a unified community.
and how we can be more inclusive for all. Now to Eileen's question, you comment that you've made a comment that when I met President Obama in the White House,
Prime has left the meeting.
that was for the DBCA, the Deafblind Character in Action, Citizens in Action. I'm trying to think. There was about 5 deafblind people. 5 hearing interpreters that they went around with each of us. We had our own interpreter. There was supposed to be 6 deafblind interpreters, but it's just 6 deafblind participants, but one could not come because they didn't have access to a green card at that time, so they weren't allowed in the White House. So that meant that there was a total of 10 people that went for that meeting. I remember I stood next to President Obama during his speech, and then I was able to give President Obama a big hug. His speech really helped shape my view and really made me feel good, and it really changed my life. He's someone that I would consider looking up to him. I looked up to him. He was taller than me, he had a great smile, and I just had to give him a big hug, and it really was heartwarming and awesome. Marcelette's saying, thank you, Divya, for your comments. He's saying, I see my mama here. My mama has a question or a comment that they would like to add. Are you ready? Hello, everyone. I'm Krista. I do have a comment about Divya about what her expectations for the future of the Black Lives Matter movement, for example, protests, parades, rallies, marches. I hope that they will allow for deafblind people or other people with disabilities to be, in the front together, so we can all travel together during these protests and not spread out all over the place. That would definitely help out, make things more smooth, make things more coordinated. Communication with interpreters would be a lot more beneficial, be a lot easier, and it would really be more inclusive for everyone. And what was the other thing you said? I'm trying to think of what you said. I guess it slipped my mind. All right, that's good. That's enough for me. Marcelette is saying, thank you, Krista. Now we're going to go back to Divya for any comments or anything you want to add to Krista's comment. And then we'll come back to me. All right, sound good? Good, just 1 second. Switching over to Divya. Hello, this is Divya speaking.
Left the meeting.
Yes, that's definitely one of my goals, to have more people in the disability community involved in Black Lives Matter. Especially, and as far as, people in the disability community need more jobs. That's the top priority. Like, people don't know how to communicate. They feel oppressed, they feel discriminated against. But realistically, the biggest priority, our number one priority, is jobs. Secondly, people tend to have you know, because people tend to have better lives when they have more financial stability. They don't have things that they have to worry about. So once those needs are met, then true equality can be achieved. You know, same thing, hearing people, deaf people, they have better jobs, they have better lives. So we need that, we need to be involved in that standard, better education, also accessible transportation. Also, the ADA needs to be restructured a little bit as well. You know, the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act is strictly in America. Canada has their own version, but I think they need to really focus on what's right and what's wrong, what's needed. It needs to be more clear. It needs to be more organized. It needs to be more concise of what exactly is needed. I mean, through my experiences of being exposed to the ADA and learning about it, I've seen that it gets a little complicated. It definitely needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be more structured. It needs to be more concise and not as many moving parts as there are.
Has joined the meeting. Alert. John Cuniff has left the meeting.
I do prefer, in regards to the rallies, I do, you know, we advocate for peaceful marches, peaceful protest, wage equality. And once people start to understand that, then we can start changing the law and to make sure that our lives are equal to those around us. And it's beneficial for everyone with a disability. So an example of deafblind access would be they need
Transcript.
transcript. Thank you. You know, so some people, you know, to re-stress my point, some people, you know, in the disability community, you know, they don't have jobs, they don't have money, they don't have services. There's not enough services. So, you know, I think there needs to be more, you know, more focus on the disability community and how we can fix that and really improve lives for people with disabilities. I mean, the list is really, like, I mean, these are just some examples of things that could be fixed, that our lives can be seen in we can experience a more equal way of life. Marceletta is saying, thank you, Divya, for that comment. Krista, do you have a question or another comment? This is Mama. All right, we're going to bring it over to Mama Krista. She wants to add a comment to you, Divya, then we're going to come back to me. We do have it was for a special announcement for everyone. Okay, Krista, you ready? Awesome. Also, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act needs to be cleaned up as well. And that's specific to children in schools. For people, you know, which include, you know, hearing blind, deaf, and just deaf. That's just an example of some services that need improvement, specifically in the education department. Marcella is saying, thank you, Krista. I have a special announcement from outside the room. Not someone who's currently involved in the Zoom, but they've been telling me to tell everyone here something.
Alert.
If you're over the age of 40, they want to invite you to a singles only Zoom for parents. You could be parent, you can have kids, and it's just really kind of a place to chat, get to know each other. You know, so if that's something you're interested in, please reach out directly to me and I will pass along the information to you on an individual basis. It's not something I can really spread out during here in a general chat, per the host's request. It sounds pretty exciting, I think. I'm kind of curious to check it out. If you know, how many people here are over the age of 40? Let me say, how many of you above the age of 40? Let me see, hold on. All right, hands up, let's see. All right. So now we're going back to the point. I do have someone, Vanessa asked me what it means if the person has to be a parent or have parents, and they said no, the focus is people on the age of 40 and older. You can have children, you can be a parent, but the point is above the age of 40 and single. That's the focus of that Zoom, that event. It's just a place where people can go talk, and that's not in this Zoom. That's a separate Zoom. So like I said, if you want that information, just reach out directly to me and then I will send it to you. I know a lot of you. I know a lot of you are single, so let me know. I mean, if you're married, if you're under the age of 40, don't worry. They have another Zoom, but this specific one is asking for exclusively single people. It should be interesting. All right, now it's time to have a little bit of fun. Deaf is not a dirty word. Marcelette is dancing and signing deaf is not a dirty word. And everyone else is joining in and dancing and signing it. Oh, I found a new volunteer. Special, this is a newcomer, first time, special show for them. And this is Farouk. Yeah, go ahead. Go. Don't be shy. Don't worry. Everyone here in the audience in the Zoom, we all support you. Come on. You ready? Come on, sign with me. Deaf is not a dirty word. Come on, dance along. Mm-hmm. And we are switching interpreters.
We're still dancing, trying to get the audience to participate. Woohoo! I can see you all in here. Everyone's dancing. Everyone's joining in. Spirit is moving us all. Oh yeah. We can do it. We can have a little fun tonight, right? Woohoo! All right now. Everyone ready? All right. Back to the very first question. So Divya or any other person here who's deaf, deafblind, has something they want to share, let me know what's been happening for you lately. Any thoughts? Do you guys feel that with Black Lives Matter? BLM, Black Lives Matter? Just talk a little bit about that. Maybe something to do with the police or school or at your vocation. Davina shared a story with us just recently. So now we can, and I as well did. So now I want to know, at least for myself, being a Black woman, being deaf, what is something that I'm trying to ask you guys as a deafblind community here and BIPOC, Black Indigenous people of color? Do you feel that Black Lives Matter? Do you think that it will blossom? Do you think that the awareness is going to increase? Do you think we'll overcome obstacles? What are some of the things that we need to work on here as a community, in the deafblind community, in order to feel that there's equity and bring us all up to the same level? Do we need to increase accessibility? Do we need accessibility in the, what is that one thing that's missing for you as a deafblind person in order to feel and really see the world as more accessible and equal? So now, who wants to take the floor? Put your hands up by your head like antlers to let me know. I'll peek through the audience here. Where is someone wanting to speak? Just looking for hands. Still checking. All right. Looks like there's John. John, do you use sign language? Can you sign for us, John? Can you speak to how being deafblind, how that impacts you as a person? John, are you ready to go? Okay, hold on one second. Let me pass the spotlight on to you. He's just fixing his screen and he's in a dark room. It's hard to see. He's just setting up his camera. She's asking again, are you ready to go? He's still adjusting his camera. He's quite close to the screen. Just a moment. We've gone back to Marcelette. She's saying, okay, technical difficulties again. So deafblind equity is necessary here. So I'm going to mirror what John is saying. So he says that I can copy sign him. So go ahead, John, I can see you. So you go ahead and you sign and I will mirror you. All right, so John is saying, hello, thank you. My name is John. And he put his last name in there and he goes, hi there everyone, I'm deaf, I am blind. And for accessibility for a deafblind person is having that identity as a blind person. And then also, well, mind you, I grew up as a deafblind. And Marcelette is saying, sorry, John, you're gonna have to go back for me. Your hands aren't on screen. If you could move over to the right and then I can see you. Move over to your right a little bit more. Perfect, there you go, John, go ahead. Please continue. All right, John saying, all right, so I grew up in, the interpreter missed the location.
The blind.
Huh.
Okay, and Marcelette's double checking where.
Watertown, Boston.
Thank you, Watertown, Boston. All right, go ahead, John. The school there, they had a special education teacher, as well as the school had a really wonderful faculty there with the staff. They worked really well. No matter the skin color, black, brown, white, it was a very multicultural school. I made friends there with a diverse population. We worked well together. As students, there was no issues. Everything was quite perfect. I used tactile sign language there. And then upon graduation, I found a new job. I worked for various companies. Well, about last 10 years ago, in Perkins, I was working at the Perkins factory, specifically in the area where there was various of tasks. I had to add pieces to the machines on the factory line, and it was like linking items together. But I mean, there was black and there was colored people, and everyone socialized successfully. It was a great work opportunity there, and I've been working there for the longest time. Everyone really got along. Everyone was close. And reiterating again, this was in Boston. And so I've been there now for many years. And it's been quite wonderful. So I think that is all. Any questions? Marcelette is asking the audience, any questions for John? Put your hands by your head like antlers so I can identify you. Just looking for someone who has antlers. 1 second. Just let me double check, see if the other page, see if there's any DeafBlind members that want to comment, tell us a story, just a few minutes, maybe explain. Let me get into this again. The question that went out to the audience from Davina was talking about Black Lives Matter. Just 1 second, let me find it. All right, Benny's asking to speak, then we'll go back to me and then Davina. Hold on 1 second. Let me pass this spotlight to you. All right, sorry, right now we have a special UNY something.
Unique.
Thank you. Unique opportunity. There's about 3 or 4 people who have been working to make sure that this deaf-blind community has been put together and kept together. It's really great. And so what we've been doing is that I've been signing the question, and then we have another person who's going.
Sign the question to Christina, and then we'll sign it to Benny, and then we'll talk all through each other. So when I switch, then we'll switch over.
Thank you. And then we'll do the reverse in order to bring it back to the other language. All right, are we ready to go? All right, so Benny, say your name, where you're from, how you identify, and then the 4th piece, talking about your experience with Black Lives Matter. Perfect, you ready? We'll pass it on to you. Now to Benny. Hi, this is Benny Martinez, and I'm from California. I'm hard of hearing, and I have a tonsil. I have issues seeing at night, so I'm low vision. The interpreter's having a hard time seeing his hands. It's being cut off by the screen. Marcel saying, thank you, Benny. Martinez. from California. Wonderful. So now that last bit, the question being your experience with Black Lives Matter. That and also being a deafblind person. Do you want to speak to that, Benny? Are you ready to go? I went to a deaf school in Rochester, California, and so I grew up utilizing the oral system. The sign language system was a little bit different. I picked it up later on. Sorry, that was Riverside, California. And so now being a senior, learning ASL later on in life. Again, having a hard time seeing his hands.
Saying, I guess that's it.
Marcel saying, we have a tech problem. You need to lower your screen a little bit more so we can see your hands by your chest. Right now we're able to see way your head and way above that. So Christina, can you bring his camera down, lower it a bit so we can see his hands? Great, thank you. Now it's much better. We can see him clearly. Let's bring it back to Benny one more time and get you to repeat yourself. I went to California Deaf School, Riverside there, and I learned sign language and the oral system, but not much. I picked it up more when I was a senior. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much all. That's me. I'm pretty new to all this, so it's my first time here utilizing Zoom. Mm-hmm. And there's a pause. We're waiting to go back to Marcel. Great, Marcelette's saying thank you. Thank you, Benny. Thank you for your story. And now we're going to turn it over to Christine. She's going to fill you in a little bit from what you missed. Ready? We're going to pass it over to Christina.
Has left the meeting.
Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. Thank you, Benny. I call him Benny Boy. So thank you, Benny Boy, for starting, and welcome to Zoom. It's so great to have you with us, that you're here online. I did want to ask you, what was your experience for Black Lives Matter? For Black Lives Matter, what did you think about Black Lives Matter? What are you seeing there in California? What has been something that's impacted you? Just your sense on it. Are you able to talk about that and share with the audience here a little bit about your experience with Black Lives Matter? Benny, you have to lower your camera. I'm only able to see from just below your neck. I want to be able to see all the way further down. Can you lower it down past your chest and maybe move in closer to your screen? We're going to switch interpreters.
Well, I really don't know what to say, but I do have one granddaughter who is half Black, half Spanish.
Has left the meeting.
So I guess, I support my granddaughter. I really have nothing much to say. That, there's nothing wrong with, Black people. There's nothing wrong with people of color. I love my granddaughter very much. And that's pretty much it. That's all I got to say. Now we're back to Marcelette. Thank you very much, Benny, for your story, for your comments. So now I'm going back to asking Divya a question. Watching everyone's stories and seeing all this, it's very heartfelt. And I guess my next topic I want to discuss is justice and the deafblind community. I'm deaf and I can see, so we're kind of in, still kind of in the middle. So I mean, if anyone, I don't care if you're deaf, blind, or have a disability, or you can see, or you're sighted. If anyone decides to commit a crime, you should do the time. But I mean, I've been seeing things in the last 5 years. I mean, technically longer than that, but it's become more and more apparent that, and starting in 2012 in Florida with Trayvon Martin, and that was kind of really brought these issues to the global national platform. And one thing I guess I'm very curious about is the newspaper doesn't always tell enough about experiences and of the deafblind community in prison.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the reason why I say I'm on the fence, because you have good people and bad people in all groups. So I want to know, how do we, as sighted people, how do we support the deafblind community? How do we, include people and inform others that there needs to be a tactile experience for a deafblind? Because in prison, it's very, people think it's dirty, nobody wants to be touched, but realistically, this is how people communicate. They communicate through tactile interpreting, sign language, very close up. People really will even label them as some kind of abuser or some negative word, because they're touching people and they get branded as a felon, but not understanding the fact that in deafblind culture, that touch is a very important part of the experience. So Divya, do you mind commenting more on that?
That was weeks ago.
This is Divya speaking. Your comment raised a very good point. It really is the key to the deafblind community. Yes, touch is very, very integral. And it is sad how things and standards are so far behind for the deafblind community, and we really don't have enough education and exposure the police don't have enough education. The criminal justice system doesn't have enough education. Even though the whole entire legal structural system the list goes on and on. There's no exposure to deafblind. There's no education to deafblind, especially in prisons. I mean, in jail, there might be a few deafblind people, but I would say my concern is not having access to communication. For example, if someone is handcuffed and they communicate through sign language or tactile sign language, how can they know what's going on? How can they see in the interpreter? They can't have that experience. That's just one of the many things I can see wrong in regards to not having access to communication. Especially because some people are hard of hearing. Some people have low vision. They need someone who's closer up. There's a lot of different needs that go along with being a member of the deafblind community, and there needs to be more education to these systems so that accessibility and access to basic needs like language can be met. I mean, I know that there's someone that could easily misconstrue a tactile and sign language experience as a sexual encounter, and that's really not the case. But we have to expose people and educate people that that's how they communicate, especially pro-tactile, where you're touching people on the back. There's a lot of hand to body contact.
About your personal life, share like no perfect.
So I really want to stress that we need to improve the education, especially because it's such a multi-faceted and layered issue. And
maybe later.
I mean, I feel very strongly about that situation.
What did you see now? Life. It's pretty nice.
I've heard a lot of stories of deaf people who were in prison, who were incarcerated, and had no access, when they were in court, when they were being detained by the police officers. And I mean, the deafblind community is very, very minuscule compared to that. There's very few people that are in that situation. I mean, if a deafblind person were more motivated to educate the systems and train the people that are involved in these systems on these accesses and needs to communication, especially to the police. What if a cop comes up? What if a cop comes up to a deafblind individual and tells you to drop your weapon, or drop your phone, or drop whatever is in your hands, but not acknowledging the fact that the individual they're talking to can't see, is deaf, is blind, and they are unaware of what's going on around them. They have no environmental information at that point. I mean, if they have a sighted support professional or an SSP, that person has to move away from the deafblind individual. So how is the deafblind individual going to get access to the environment? How are they going to know what's going on? Then they don't become responsive. A cop pulls the weapon, and then there goes the whole situation. Then they just feel, next thing they know, they feel handcuffs on their wrists, and they don't know what's going on. That's what really causes me worry. And like I keep saying, like, this is why we need education. This is why we have to teach. When deaf people go, especially even with police officers, when a deaf person gets pulled over, how to communicate with a deaf person during a traffic stop. They have the cards, they have different features, but I mean, there definitely could be more. You can learn some basic sign language, but for deaf blind people, there's no real mode of accessibility. So that's something I'm very fired up about. It's a lack of equality, and it's a lack of education in the needs of the deafblind community. It's very unfortunate.
Please call the one and only, the most beautiful, tenacious, amazingly versatile woman
You know, the criminal system, the criminal justice system is very tough. I mean, as you know, like it's, so how do we ensure that people are getting access during trial?
The one and only, this marvelous, creative gentleman, one of my favorites, one of India's favorite.
I interpreted missed that spell. Or, you know,
New York
if,
police, New York's finest, they're just not being allowed to do their job. They don't want to.
or if they're getting a fine and they don't know what the fine is for, that how are they going to go into court? How are they going to approach a judge? How are they going to defend their case? How are they going to have access to that information if they have nothing to go on? So that's why education and access are two of the most important aspects that need improvement to face these challenges and really overcome these challenges in the criminal justice system. You know, for even our group, my Orlando group, we need some motivation. We need to get the work done. We need to, you know, get together and talk about education to show how to properly communicate and figure out what we need. How do we communicate that? And to both police and a deafblind person, how can that communication be increased? I mean, there's so many things even behind that in of itself, but that's just a good starting point, just as a baseline of a benefit, and it will continue to benefit after that. It will continue, the accessibility and awareness can continue, but we have to start there first with education and accessibility. Both of these have to be the starting points. In my job, I work with my team, and I started educating them. I teach, I inform a lot of them on, we have a lot of visitors and we train them as well. That's just something that we do, but it really does help a lot when we take that time and educate people and train them in the situation. But I think the more that we do that, the more of a benefit future generations are going to see, and that's when we can see more equality for everyone. We went back to Marcelette. Thank you, Divya, for that response. Now I see Vanessa also has a question for you as well. So I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Vanessa right now.
Vanessa-Canada is connecting to audio and can't hear you yet. Alert.
Hello, everyone. Sorry. This is Vanessa speaking. So I have a few things I would like to mention. First is a quick comment and then a question. So I would say my quick comment is, I know it's not Black Lives Matter specifically related, but this is more related to deafblind experience. And I have seen a situation where a deafblind individual and was with a police officer and the communication that was happening. I let the police know when they came involved in the situation that, hey, listen, I'm going to need to, you know, this is a deafblind individual. I'm going to need to be there so I can make sure that they're getting communication. And the police were absolutely not cooperating. They told me to stay away from the individual. So the person that was there who was deafblind had no idea what was going on, and they got frustrated. And that's when I told the police officer, my friend over here is getting frustrated. I have to go explain what's going on. So that leads me into my next question. Now, just a question. Would you rather have more deaf-sided support professionals or more hearing-sided support professionals? It seems that a lot of hearing agencies that hire these SSPs don't want to hire deaf interpreters or deaf SSPs. They think that they're the same thing. So I guess I just want to see what your perspective on that topic for communication access. Back to Marcelette. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you for your comment. Just hold on one quick second. I do see Divya. I'm just gonna try to make sure that Divya caught everything. Do you want me to repeat everything that was said? She's asking Divya. Hold on one second, everyone. Okay, I'm gonna repeat exactly what Vanessa just said. Vanessa, do you mind signing again so I can repeat for Divya? I remember you said the first one was a comment and the second thing you had to say was a question, okay? So if you can just go ahead and repeat that now, that'd be great. So I do have a deafblind friend with who the police were not cooperating with them. But I was there and I wanted to mediate the communication between the deafblind and my deafblind friend and the police officer. But the police came in and told me no, and it was very frustrating. And I saw my deafblind friend was very, very frustrated and very upset by this. So me, Vanessa, I went over to my deafblind friend and I aided in communication, which led to my next question. My question is, how do agencies in Canada go about labeling SSPs? Not deaf interpreters, but, oh, no, I'm sorry, wait, am I incorrect? I'm sorry, hold on one second, Marcelette's clarifying. So a hearing agency will not accept a deaf-sided support professional, service support professional. I was just asking your experience as a deaf-blind person. Do you prefer someone who is deaf an SSP or a hearing SSP? Especially in related to court proceedings, in interactions with the police, or just, you know, just in general. So I'm gonna pass it over to Divya so she can respond. This is Divya speaking. Thank you for your question about Canada. Canada does have SSPs, but it's under a different title in Canada. We don't call them that. We call them intervisors, and this is the sign. That's the sign that they use in Canada.
7:44 p.m.
And it's a free service that's provided in Canada. That's, you know, bonus points for Canada. And they, you know, that's for all the court proceedings and everything that happens in there. They do have access. I mean, I think also, but is in relation to your question is of a general preference for SSPs. I think it depends on the person. Some people might want a deaf SSP. Oh, thank you. Or a hearing SSP. You know, there are varying levels to being deaf. There are varying levels to being blind. There's varying levels to being deaf-blind, and you know, that's just there's a range, and there's a various different types of communication involved. And the profession is called interveners, interpreters clarifying. And I hope Canada is also educating how people can advocate and how people can support one another. I know Canada haven't really passed many laws in regards to deafblind, but it's only really scratching the surface. It's the same thing in America. I would say the only thing I can really offer would be having a group of deafblind people in Canada and with their interveners advocate, educate, and train people on accessibility and need. They can hold workshops, they can hold trainings and make sure that people are being educated and have So like for your example, if a police officer had that and they knew to put an interpreter in that situation for a deafblind individual, I mean, they would acknowledge that's how communication happens, to make sure that they have access to that interpreter, to make sure that they have access to the language, whatever the cop wants to say and whatever the deafblind individual wants to voice as well. Marcelette is back saying, thank you, Divya.
I have a question about Divya.
We're letting Marcelette know.
I'm sorry, you talking to me?
Yes, I was just letting you know.
Oh,
That I sent that request to Marcelette to let her know that you're waiting
okay.
for a comment or a question.
Let me know when you're ready.
Absolutely. So in Canada, Vanessa's saying, as people have interpreters and they have access, I think that deafblind individuals should be also having just as much access as well. If, whatever the word is, it's an intervener or an SSP. I think, my question is, what do you want to see happen? Do you want to see more hearing or more deaf SSPs with the deafblind community? Intervener. And now we're going to turn it over to Sandy, our favorite audience member. Has a question for Divya as well. So I do want to make a quick comment about that speculation, that spectrum of communication.
So I guess it really depends on their comfort levels and their needs. And I think it's really important to accommodate and match to what the deaf-blind person's preferences are. So be it one moment, being accommodation or communication preferences, a whole host of things for accessibility. It really depends, and it's individualized and should be tailored as such. Marcelette saying, thank you, Divya. Now over to Vanessa. We're going to pass the spotlight to you. As a hearing person, we're going to get Tim to interpret. So I'm going to pass it over to Tim.
Asai, that's you. That's your whatever your question is. I'll sign it for you.
My name is Isai. I have a question for Divya. So, yes, communication with people is most important. So my question is be deaf without no cochlear implant. So be deaf is more harder to communicate with people than hard of hearing.
Marcelette saying, here, Divya, do you understand the question? Okay, great. I will pass it to you. Hi, Divya again. Hello, Asai. Thank you. Nice to hear that you're here. So your question, I do actually have a cochlear implant. So the question about cochlear implant, it means that I can hear pretty well, but it really depends on the hard of hearing person because there's such a range. There's the very low decibels to the higher decibels. So I'm able to hear something a little bit lower. So as a hard of hearing person, it depends. So if the sounds are very loud, there's a lot of background noise, then for sure I'm unable to hear a whole bunch of stuff. Especially
or identify the difference between police officers and just general background information. I can understand that can be frustrating for you as well.
Mm-hmm. So I would, for myself, I would ask the police officer, I said, could we please go to a quiet place? That or try and find another option as a means of communication. So if I'm trying to focus on my ears and trying to hear you and what they're saying and it's not working, sometimes we'll have to pull out a pen and paper. Or sometimes we'll have to spell out the words on my hand and that takes a really long time. Sometimes they have communication cards ready at hand and they can flip through those and show me what they're trying to say. So that, and then being able to work with the police officer that way. But I mean, if they're doing it as like a braille and whatnot and using that for the person, sure, maybe they can even text back and forth. I mean, there's a whole host of different ways to be able to communicate that makes it possible to provide enough access for a person who is deaf and maybe has a higher decibels, or where they're able to hear even less or even more. It's such a range. And so, I mean, similar ways of communicating, writing on the palm, bringing in an interpreter if needed, other modes that I mentioned, such as picture cards. Sometimes like they have a badge or something on your chest that says, I am deaf, I am not hard of hearing, or I am deafblind, or I'm deaf low vision, and something that's written on and it's visible on their chest. And so being the police officer would see that and figure out a way to be able to communicate. So maybe that would help if you have, does that answer your question, Say?
Yes, most likely you did. But I was saying that, I was asking like, be deaf, like somebody who does not have implant.
Well, 1 second. Do you mind starting that over again? They're going to spotlight the interpreter.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, Clay, you answered my question, but the question is, be deaf, like if I, for example, if I don't have implant, that will be a lot harder for me to communicate with people, because one time when I was in high school, I did not know the battery for my implant will be. I did not know the battery will die soon. So after the battery died, I had no way to communicate with people. I mean, I can see people, but I was not able to know what they say to me. So my teacher wrote the paper on, she wrote something on the paper, and I was using CCTV to read what she said to me, and she told me it is lunchtime. So I went out, so I just sat quiet all day, because quiet all day, because I was not able to speak to people, because I was not able to hear nothing. So I thought it's a lot harder for with with people with hard of hearing. If I have a hard of hearing, if I have implants, I will able to speak to people and hear them. I hope you understand my question clearly.
This is Divya speaking. Oh, I misunderstood you. So now your question makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it could be harder. It definitely could be. Again, it really depends. It doesn't only happen to be communication. So where if the battery is slowly dying and then it's difficult to hear, that could be a sense of feeling left out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping maybe because of the battery piece, like hopefully the technology will improve, maybe boost it up to 35, 40 hours. At least that's what I have with my cochlear implant. It lasts quite a long time. I can go a day and a bit without it dying on me. So yeah, again, like it can be very challenging. And if I'm feeling left out, for sure, know that you're not the only one. I feel that too. I feel the frustration because my family, no one else is deaf. And so when they're communicating with me, they will sometimes go over my head. So I have to butt in and make sure that I'm part of it. And it's similar because trying to hear and all that is very challenging. It's tough. Thank you, Divya. This is Marcelette speaking. Well, thank you for sharing so much.
Before we wrap up, I want to spotlight Rain really quick.
From
Ryan.
Washington,
Ryan.
and
Ryan.
there's. Go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna let him just give a quick message for you guys. So for those who don't know him, let him just say something really quick, and then we'll come back to me, and then we can wrap up.
So passing it over to Rain. Their
Ryan.
name is Rain, R-A-I-N. It's not raining outside. It's not the weather I'm talking about. The person's name is Rain. Okay, great. So I'm going to spotlight you now. Just give me 1 second. Cannot find you. Looking through the audience here. Oh, but the name is R-I-N. Yep, I know my name sign's Rain, but it's spelled R-I-A-N. I know a lot of people get it wrong. It's pronounced Ryan, but because they mixed it up, they gave me this name sign Rain, which I accept. So I'm from Oregon, actually, not Washington. That's fine. We're close enough. We're close enough. Just an hour of the commute. Not a big deal. All right, great. So let me introduce myself. I'm a deaf community supporter. I work for the university supporting disabilities in general, deaf, deafblind, those in wheelchairs, all across the state. And so the government and the Capitol, with the commission, we had discussion about laws being passed and for accessibility for disabilities and various things, including deaf interpreters, deafblind interpreters, doing tactile support. And so, I mean, a lot of that is just being very inclusive in the community, supporting, passing laws, a whole host of things. And so for Black Lives Matter and the protests, doing speeches there about disability, talking about accessibility, and really bringing awareness, which is really cool. And so that's me in a nutshell. Spotlight back to Marcelette. Perfect. Thank you, Rain Ryan. And so now, my bad, I thought you were from Washington. It's actually Oregon. My mistake. I will keep that in mind for future use. So for the meeting this evening, we've had lots of chance to talk amongst each other, hear each other's stories, and now there's just one thing that has been bothering me. As a Black person, well, just thinking here, the reason why it's not only about being Black, but Black Lives Matter, and just the intersectionality of being part of the community, also being, there's deaf, deafblind, work opportunities, just this whole mishmash of everything all in one. And so the last part that I wanted to bring attention to was how there's many people who want to become SSPs. So they're trying their best to transition it over to being called a deaf interpreters, or should we keep it as SSPs? What should the name of that job be? I do recognize that lately there has been some people who don't mind becoming SSPs, but I mean, they fear for the label because SSPs, the word has been spoiled in a sense, but the deaf community needs it. They need the tactile communication. But I'm like, okay, well, I'm POC, I don't mind doing this. But there's also, what is the perception on me, right? So maybe I shouldn't be doing this job, becoming an SSP. So
Okay,
I'm going to pass this question over. Ryan here. Great perspective to have for sure. I'm here being with Black people. I know we always do keep in mind and being careful of what we do in general. My wife, Interpreter missed the name, she dropped me off in this community that is very wealthy. And I said, no, let's not do that. Reason being, because if I was to walk the streets, I would have a lot of attention. People would call the police on me, and there would be issues with that. Typically, white people tend to really suss things out, thinking like, oh, maybe that person's drunk, or maybe it's for work, or but whatever it is, they give white people the benefit of the doubt. But if a Black person does anything, oh, they're raiders. They're not willing to give them that same benefit of the doubt. Black people have to work a lot harder. And so I do find that sometimes we have to make sure that we're showing things at its most clarity. Like if I have a white cane, people are able to identify like, oh, okay, well, they're blind. But if I'm like looking up like this, just kind of eye gaze, am I giving you a thumbs up? The eye gaze is really important. If they're gonna look the other way, then sure, head off. But I mean, it can be really tough in the sense that Black people doing any job are gonna get a lot of attention. And so it's compounded so. And I mean, it's the optics of it all and the location they're being in. And I mean, it's really, people will jump to judgment really quick. So I typically will have to bring my card, I'll have to show identification. And so it's not really fair to a Black person to have the additional stress. And you really have to change the mind of them. We can't constantly accommodate them. We really have to have other people be more open-minded. Marcelette, great, thank you. Ryan. So now this last part, I know as a Black person, let me open up my suitcase here and thumb through my files and find all these different labels and my identification and prove that I worked with this person. Like, no, that's a lot of work for a Black person and who's working as an SSP versus white areas or white people. A lot of time they forget in the industry that maybe we have to wear some kind of giant tag on our t-shirt that says, hey, we're working. Do I have to label myself? Do I have to put that there? What if there's a misunderstanding anyways? So a lot of times people think that, oh, I'm just a tourist, or do I have to wear a label across my chest like a prison uniform with my numbers? As Black people, we're constantly having to wear labels for the benefit of the white population to understand. So people of color, Black, Indigenous, we don't want to be constantly wearing our own labels in order to walk the streets, in order to work with a deaf-blind person. Because we are not technically working for them. We're not working under them. We're working with them. There needs to be equity. There needs to be that reciprocity. But again, it just so happens, and time again, that like as a deaf interpreter or interpreter, you need to have your identification to prove that you're working, to prove that, yeah, this is happening. But for SSPs, that's where I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm gonna pass it over to you, Divya. Do you want to add a comment? We can switch interpreters.
I mean, I can definitely see how you, Divya speaking, I can definitely see how you feel as a Black person. And, you know, also I know a lot of people of color share that same feeling. And specifically in some states in America, you know, for one example, in northern Florida, in Helen Keller, the Helen Keller National Center, some states do have areas where they are educating, they have interpreting programs that include SSP trainings as well. Most of those workshops tend to teach new SSPs or revisiting the basics for people who have been doing it for a while. But I am noticing that there's a less of members of the people of color community involved in this. I'm noticing there's a large amount of white people involved. You know, and that's something as a cultural person. You know, as an Indian person, if I have an Indian, for example, if I as an Indian person, if I have a person who's also Indian as an SSP, they understand the same foods, they understand cultures, they understand when we're looking for clothes, specific movies, they have cultural competence to specifically match exactly what I'm looking for. We identify the same. And that's very important. We even are familiar with the same language. We're familiar with, I mean, just so many different things that we have the same. It's the same thing with a Black person as well, and that identity. If you're Black, as a Black deaf-blind individual, you prefer a Black SSP as well, for that same exact reason, to make sure the culture is being matched, to make sure, you know, they can match your physical movement, your activities. And the same thing with white SSPs to white deafblind people, and so on and so forth. When you notice, I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. People, you know, if they have a different culture than their SSP, that's fine. I mean, this is just a preference. But a lot of the times when they do have different cultures, there are miscues in cultural communication. There are physical actions that can be misunderstood, and even the way they spell things or you know, things like that, where someone with your own culture would be familiar with your spellings and how to interpret for you and how to really portray you. So that's why I really hope that more people of color and black people as well start being involved. Not only just white people who are coming to these programs and learning to be SSPs. Yeah, that's something that's kind of been bothering me. Because like I said before, it's about equity. It's about culture. It's, you know, like the cultural understanding, the physical understanding. You know, for example, I don't have an Indian interpreter. So I have to like really go out of my way to explain a lot more and advocate for that. So they placed a white interpreter, you know, or a brown or Black interpreter, and I have to really explain that extra step of my cultural identity and the way I experience things. So I'm sure that some of that bothers you too. I'm sure, you know, you prefer people that can understand your culture and your communication and your language and your identity. And I think we all need to kind of unify and teach people that the importance of this. And I think that will really help support each other in the long run. Back to Marcelette. I want to say thank you. First? Thank you so much to the captioners and the voice interpreters for this evening. Our voice interpreters were Tim Smith and Brooke Gamma. Yeah, it's extra special because we do have one of our hearing interpreters is from America, and we also have the team and their team as well is from Canada. So once again, I just want to say thank you, Divya, so much for your comments, for sharing your experiences, and I want to say thank you to Martin as well. Thank you to the interpreter with Martin as well. I'm going to spotlight you for a second. Let me ask real quick. Martin, is there anything you want to say before we close up? Hello, this is Martin speaking. I want to thank you very much. I want to thank my best friend, Rich, for and his energy and his efforts for interpreting for me tonight. Here he is. I love him. He's awesome. And back to you, Marcelette. Once again, I really want to extend gratitude, but hold on. Specifically to Martin. Martin really wants to emphasize to the world how great that person is, his friend is, who's interpreting him for the entire 2 hours with no breaks. You know, even before when I was signing, you realize, wow, like even I had a break and he wasn't signing. So I want to say great job to his interpreter, and Divya, great job to you. And now once again, thank you, Ryan. Here, let's spotlight my cute baby over here. Oh, look at him. Now we're spotlighting Ryan with his baby. Ryan saying hi. His baby's just kind of looking into the camera. So many thanks again to everyone. I also want to let you know on Friday's night is ladies' night. And that topic we'll be discussing Friday is intersectionality. I hope to see you all there Friday night. All right. Who's ready? Who's ready for the closing song? Deaf is not a dirty word. Marceletta's dancing. I also want to say thank you, Sandy. And thank you for everyone. And now Marceletta's back to signing. Deaf is not a dirty word. Martin is also letting everyone know that he's going to be signing off. And Marceletta is sending kisses and love. And thank you, Mama Kristen. I will text you later.
Down on the right where it says leave. Click.
Wait, isn't it?
Bye. Bye.